Good afternoon. It's always a bit tough when you're at the back end of the day. Yeah, look, I'd like to take you through our Adyton Resources story, where, I mean, by my accent, you probably picked that I'm Australian. I run the company out of Brisbane, but we're 100% Papua New Guinea focused, and we're listed on the TSX-V exchange. I genuinely believe that we're in the early phase of the next big story on that market. PNG's been a remarkable place for discoveries for many decades, albeit in recent times there probably hasn't been too many new mines, but most of you would be familiar with the successes of K92, for example. But I think our first slide here kind of summarises nicely the company, just under 2.2 million ounces across 3 tenements in PNG. 1.5 million at Feni Island. Feni sits between Lihir and Bougainville. And then at Fergusson Island, we've got 2 tenements, Gameta and Wapolu, which are very advanced exploration assets, which we're taking into production. One of the things that our mineral resource estimate excludes is there's no copper credits flowing through, and we're starting to see significant copper coming through on our current drill programs at Feni. Look, this slide here just gives you a quick summary of the PNG landscape and some of the familiar projects that you'd be aware of. I won't spend too much time on that. I'll just click forward. Just quickly on the corporate snapshot, it looks a bit like Mount Everest, that share price chart, and I sit here I stand here as with the title of CEO, but I really run the company as a shareholder, so it certainly hurts me to see the decline in the share price with no fundamental change in the company in any sort of sense. Actually, the company's in the strongest possible position we've ever been in. We've de-risked projects. We've got a bank balance full of cash, and I've got 2 projects funded to cash flow through our joint venture partner at Fergusson Island. So really that share price that you're seeing there, I think, provides an amazing opportunity to get into the stock. In my view, there's a huge dislocation between the intrinsic value of the company and the share price, and I'm not sure I could, if you ask me why has it happened, I'm not actually sure I can tell you, other than gold price came off. Potentially we had some shareholders that had come into the stock when it was 3, 5, 15 cents, and they were sitting on a 5, 10, 15 bagger and started to exit. So it's seen probably seen quite a recycle in our register. But so we're sitting here with about 20 million in cash, and that cash is 100% focused on the ongoing drilling at Feni Island and the development of our other 2 assets. It's funded through our JV partner. Look, of the notable people on the board, I think Michael Gray recently joined the board. I think well known, arguably one of Canada's most respected or best respected resource analysts, and he joined the board a couple of months ago. I stepped in as the managing director in late 2021, and kind of self-funded the company with an ASX-listed company, still the largest shareholder, and saw the opportunity in late 2023 to, re-energise Adyton after having a very difficult period through COVID. And we are where we are today in a remarkable position, well funded, well supported, and 2 of our assets fully funded to cash flow. Yeah, why Adyton? And I suppose what's attracted myself and others to Papua New Guinea, and I think the key sort of simplified story is that if you want to find elephants, you've got to go where elephants are found, and certainly Feni Island sits in arguably the greatest gold discovery belt in the world. We are equidistant between Lihir, one of the largest gold discoveries ever, and Panguna mine in Bougainville, and then on the other side of Lihir you've got Simberi. So we're certainly we're certainly in a geology region that supports giant-sized projects, and all those projects have gone into production. It's not just that they're a giant-sized resource and it's still sitting in the ground. They're all in production. So it begs the question as to, well, why hasn't there been, a Tier 1 resource discovered on Feni, which I'll come to in the next slide or two. But, the other points that I'd make about this slide here, and I'm here really at Zurich, I'm not trying to raise capital, I don't need to, I haven't got a placement round the corner. I'm really here to build out my portfolio of shareholders because I feel that the funnel's a bit narrow, and we're definitely trying to increase the depth and the spread of my shareholder base. So that's fundamentally why I'm here. And this is kind of the slide that I'd say that you need to pay attention to as to why you should become a shareholder. One, Feni is clearly a multi-million ounce potential deposit. Even if with a 10% of the size of Lihir, we're 8 million ounces. No one would sneeze at that. Pardon the sneeze, yeah. Point two really, covers the first point as well. I mean, we're in one, if not the best gold discovery region in the world. PNG experience. I've been in PNG now since 2015, working, and I'm still a director of that company. Mayo Resources recently changed its name to Pacific Lime and Cement. In that company, we took 2 projects from discovery to full permitting since 2015. So I think we've got a team and experience that knows how to do it in PNG. We're well financed. We're actually drilling at Feni. I've got 2 rigs operating now, 24/7. We've just finished 8,000 metres at Fergusson Island, funded through our JV. So we've got activity occurring on all our assets, progressively de-risking them. We're, importantly, for those that not kind of understand the nuances of PNG, we're island-based, not highlands-based. Now, the significance of that is the highlands is clearly an amazing discovery belt, so I'm not going to try and pour water on the discovery potential of the PNG highlands, but logistics are challenging. You typically need to have a very strong partner. Exploration's incredibly expensive, normally 100% helicopter supported. And then if you develop a mine in the highlands, you've got to work out how you're going to get your product to market. And I've got a slide that kind of simplifies that later on. And look, the last point here is, as I said before, I think we've got a massive dislocation with the share price and the intrinsic value of the company, and hence a tremendous buying opportunity. In terms of the similarities with Lihir, probably the key points are summarised on this slide. Same age rocks, early porphyry style overprinting with an alkalic epithermal system, both hosted in geothermally active extinct volcanoes. So we are drilling in a geothermally active area, as most of Lihir is as well. Now, the one point, and the reason we would contend why a significant discovery hasn't happened at Feni is this last point. The key difference being that the mineralisation at Feni is undercover. So post the mineralisation event 500,000 years ago, there was an eruption, volcanic eruption on Feni, which deposited at its deepest point, based on the drilling that we've done, about 90 to 100 metres of post-mineral tephra cover. And that, I think, has, perhaps steered some explorers away, but also I think some of the early explorers, for example Esso, just completely didn't understand the geology. So they did about 80 to 90 holes in Feni in the same region where we are at the moment, all air core, and there wasn't a drill hole deeper than 100 metres. So hello, they didn't even penetrate into the mineralised ground. So, that we would contend is fundamentally the reason why there hasn't been a major discovery at Feni. So what are we doing? We're drilling deep. We're trying to understand some of the other vectors that helped the discoveries of Lihir, albeit we can't rely on some of your surface arsenic anomalies, mercury anomalies, because that's all undercover. So it's really about deep drilling and potentially aeromag and geophysics. The island, in terms of scale, just to sort of put some perspectives, it's about 20 kilometres from the bottom to the top and 10 to 15 kilometres wide. Now, if you look at, I don't know whether there's a pointer here that works, but the little image at the top there, which is the Lihir ore body, plan view, 1 gram per tonne cut-off, at the same scale as the Feni Island. And you can see, for those that are concerned whether the island's big enough to host a large-scale Tier 1 asset, I think this dispels that, because you can fit that Lihir multiple times with any of those high-priority geophysical targets that we're focusing on, albeit that we're really only focusing on the existing resource and growing that out in the middle of the image there, the Kabang resource. In terms of drilling and results so far, so we've drilled about 6,000 metres. We've released results for holes FDD 00, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've just concluded drilling holes number 16 and 17 in the last kind of 24, 48 hours. So there will be some news flow on drill results as they come out. One of the issues I do have is the lab in Leh and PNG is heavily overloaded, and there's quite a long turnaround time between dispatch of samples and results, which does create some tension as people are expecting quick turnaround times. But all our drill holes have been reported greater than 100 gram metres, and holes FDD 4 and 5 will substantially add ounces to the mineral resource. You can see the gap between those two, Kabang on the left-hand side and Matankaka there, so we'd expect significant ounces to be added from those two drill holes. And interestingly enough, we're starting to see consistent copper. We saw copper in hole 4. In fact, the hole ended in strong copper and gold. Probably should have kept it going. We saw strong copper in FDD 3, and we saw copper in FDD 005, and hole FDD 005 ended in very, very highly elevated molybdenum. So we think we're starting to get a better understanding of, is this system being driven by deeper copper-gold porphyry? Time will tell. Hole 16, which we just terminated last night, could be a defining drill hole with that respect. The last about 123 metres of that hole was in strong stockwork veining, a porphyry-style mineralisation, and that's going to be very interesting to see how that assays, because we may well have been in the top of the system there. Look, I'll skip over that because it's kind of the same message, other than to perhaps draw your attention to the second dot point on the right-hand side, which really, up until we did that drill hole in 2021, there was never much interest in copper at Feni, whereas that drill hole there, we had 80 odd metres of 0.57% and 6 metres of 5.1% copper, certainly ignited the interest in copper at Feni. The next few slides just take you through, and this presentation will get uploaded onto our website, take you through some of the sections, and I know I'm getting time pressure here, so I'm just going to click through those. That's a bit of a story on the copper. This is the slide I was referring to around highlands versus islands. You can see that's Octedi, 1,350 kilometre supply chain to and from the mine. If you're on the islands where we are, you're probably looking at 5 kilometres. You'd anchor a ship offshore, put your concentrate into a barge, transship it, use the ship's cranes to self-load the barge. I'm going to have to go very quickly. Just quickly on our Fergusson assets. These are in Milne Bay region. There's 2 projects, Wapolu and Gameta, under a joint venture. That joint venture has the right to earn into 50-50. And in return, they fully fund the projects up to full permitting. So once the projects are full permitted, we then stand as 50-50 JV partners. Then the JV seeks a loan from the parent company to fund the CapEx. And we're actually at that stage right now in Wapolu, and we expect Wapolu to be in production by this time next year, fully funded by the JV.
Fantastic.
My host here is looking at me. I better wrap it up there. Yeah.
Fantastic. Tim, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And,